Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sama Vandamoi Savadana Mate Jahara Prasade Bhai Devavatoriya Jai Krishna Bhakti Hoy Jaha Hoy The.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Koriya Kya Parana Kori Ho Mane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Ye Prasade Pure Sada Asa.
My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires.
Chakudana Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se Devya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jate Vede Gai Jara Charito.
He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character.
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokera Jivana Haha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padashaya Haha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padashaya Baby just do something Bhuvana Baby just do something Bhuvana.
O spiritual master, ocean of mercy and friend of the fallen souls, you are the teacher of everyone and the life of all people. O Master, be merciful unto me and give me the shade of your lotus feet. May your glories now be proclaimed throughout the three worlds.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 9 of Srila Prabhupada Lila. Today we will discuss Srila Prabhupada's pastimes in Tompkins Square Park, the formal inauguration of the Hare Krishna movement. So we saw Srila Prabhupada is passing very happy days of his life in American preaching. Weather is very good, just like India, and Indian food he's able to have there also and give it to others as well. And finally, the first generation of Hare Krishna devotees have got initiated. So after initiation, they asked, so Srila Prabhupada, what are the vows? How many rounds are we supposed to chant? Prabhupada tells, now you have to chant every day 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And they tell, impossible, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada told, they are telling, they have taken initiation, they are supposed to follow, but they tell, no, that is not possible. So Srila Prabhupada brings it down. Okay, 25 rounds you have to chant. They tell, not possible, Prabhupada. Prabhupada tells, okay, 16 rounds, not less than that. So finally, Prabhupada did a transcendental bargain. Had Prabhupada told them 16, they might have told, please make it less. So they agreed to chant 16 rounds as they have been doing before, to continue even after initiation. And then Prabhupada told, but not just 16 rounds, you have to chant always Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like you are doing now, please continue. So one disciple asked, so even in the washroom we have to chant? Prabhupada tells, yes, but do not carry the chanting bag. But always keep on chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra as much as possible throughout the day. So after initiation, Krishna sends a special gift to Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. What is that gift? Allen Ginsberg lived nearby on East 10th Street. One day he received a peculiar invitation in the mail. It states, practice the transcendental sound vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting will cleanse the dust from the mirror of the mind. International Society for Krishna Consciousness meetings at 7 a.m. daily. Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. You are cordially invited to come and bring your friends. Swamiji had asked the boys to distribute the leaflet around the neighborhood. One evening, soon after he received the invitation, Allen Ginsberg and his roommate, Peter Orlovsky, arrived at the storefront in a Volkswagen minibus. Allen had been captivated by the Hare Krishna mantra several years before, when he had first encountered it at a Kumbh Mela in Prayag, Allahabad. And he had been chanting it often ever since. The devotees were impressed to see the world-famous author of Howl and leading figure of the Beat generation enter their humble storefront. His advocation of free sex, marijuana and LSD, his claims of drug-induced visions of spirituality in everyday sights, his political ideas, his exploration of insanity, revolt, nakedness, and his attempts to create a harmony of like-minded souls, all were influential on the minds of American young people, especially the hippies. Although by middle-class standards he was scandalous and disheveled, he was in his own right a figure of worldly repute, more so than anyone who had ever come to the storefront before. So Allen Ginsberg was a leading poet of the hippies. And not just poet, otherwise also ideologically he was guiding them to altered states of consciousness. They are fed up with this regular consciousness of action and reward. and so much toil and struggle in between. So Allen Ginsberg promised to take to other states of consciousness by drugs, by nakedness, by revolt, by unique poetries, and defying the institutions and the mechanisms of the prevalent American society. So he was very, very famous. Although regular Americans, the middle class, would find him very dangerous element and unacceptable, nevertheless, the ever-increasing American middle class who were dissatisfied, who took to the hip culture, came to be known as hippies later, they took him as their leader. So he was a man of worldly repute. And this person, by reading this invitation, suddenly comes. And it was Krishna's transcendental arrangement that Allen Ginsberg already was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When he went to Kumbh Mela, he somehow got captivated by it. And ever since he had been chanting without knowing the science, the reason, and the technicalities of the mantra. Whether it was some poetry reading club, or it was a talk, or it was some parade, or any kind of demonstration, he was always chanting Hare Krishna. And now he was very happy. So people, because they would ask Allen, what is this? What are you chanting? And he did not have any answers to it. So now he was happy that now I have a Swamiji who will explain them. So I will continue my chanting Hare Krishna with greater enthusiasm. And if anybody asks me the background, I have a person now with me. Swamiji is here. So Allen did a lot of support to the devotees. The devotees told him how Prabhupada had just 2 months of visa a year ago. He had been requesting extensions, but finally after 1 year, the authorities told you have to go back. So they wanted an attorney, but then ISKCON did not have money. There were hardly 11 to 15 people who got initiated. So how to afford an attorney? So Krishna sent this gift, a very inclined man to Krishna consciousness, although he was addicted into so many things. So thus it shows how Krishna consciousness can be practiced by anybody. That person could be into drugs and all other nonsense things. So Prabhupada even explains, if a person is drunkard, if he simply starts thinking this taste of wine is Krishna, one day he will come out as a very nice Vaishnava. And actually we have examples, one very nice devotee who somehow he was going to drink every day in the bar, and while drinking somehow he picked up a Bhagavad Gita and started preaching. So this habit he developed, that he would sit in the bar and then when he is drunk, intoxicated, and then he would preach Bhagavad Gita to other equally drunk people. But then finally he realized the message and he has left everything. He has got initiated now. So anybody at any point of time, somehow or the other, simply Krishna should be put in the life. As soon as there is sunrise, darkness automatically goes away. So it does not matter at which strata of life we belong to. Simply we have to add Krishna to our life. So Allen Ginsberg, he gifted a harmonium to the devotees. He also sponsored the attorney, and he became very, very inclined. And thus Hare Krishna became a hippie religion because their leader also was chanting Hare Krishna on every platform. So these were the special mystical arrangements done by Krishna for Srila Prabhupada, hippies, and then Allen Ginsberg, and so many other things that we will discover now. Swamiji was very cordial with Allen, quoting a passage from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that whatever a great man does, others will follow. He requested Allen to continue chanting Hare Krishna at every opportunity. So he told, you are a leader, and Bhagavad Gita says, Yad yad atarati shreshtaha. As do the leaders act, the common people follow. So you are a leader, so please continue chanting at every opportunity so that others would follow his example. He told about Lord Chaitanya's organizing the first civil disobedience movement in India, leading a Sankirtana protest march against the Muslim ruler. Allen was fascinated. He enjoyed talking with the Swami. Allen recollects, the main thing above and beyond all our differences, because obviously there were differences, was an aroma of sweetness that he had, a personal, selfless sweetness like total devotion. And that was what always conquered me. Whatever intellectual questions or doubts I had, or even cynical views of ego, in his presence there was a kind of personal charm coming from dedication that conquered all our conflicts. Even though I did not agree with him, I always liked to be with him. This is the influence of pure devotee. Despite the difference of opinion, Alan was always very fond of meeting Prabhupada, and he was very jolly whenever there was such opportunity. Swamiji lived amid the drug culture. This was another problem. In a neighborhood where the young people were almost desperately attempting to alter their consciousness, whether by drugs or by some other means, whatever was available, they somehow wanted to experience another consciousness. And thus they were very much fascinated and attracted towards India. Because in India, they see people are doing unique things. In America, it's regular thing for majority, for the middle class. You grow up, you take education, get good grades, get good job, and then you earn money and have riches. That's the great American dream. But they were not satisfied with this. But then they saw in India, people do something else. People go to Himalayas, Rishikesh, Badrinath, Haridwar, all such places. And beside the rivers, in the mountains, in the caves, they sit there and they do meditation. So this was very unique thing. They are sitting with eyes closed. Somebody's chanting, somebody's doing XYZ. And this was very fascinating. What are these people up to? So they started coming to India, and unfortunately in India also, many swamis and sadhus, because it is the age of Kali, they have got corrupted. And they, if you find, go towards the Himalayas, as you climb from Rishikesh and above, there is a lot of drugs and lot of smoking. Many sadhus you will find they are smoking, and they tell it's a spiritual practice. So they also got misled, and in this way they thought it's a spiritual practice. In India, people are doing it. So they also took it with confidence that yes, this is spiritual life, what we have to follow. Swamiji assured them that they could easily achieve the higher consciousness they desired by chanting Hare Krishna. Swamiji had to teach that Krishna consciousness was beyond the revered LSD trip. LSD was very famous drug at that time, which professors of Harvard, they were propagating. And then he was fired from Harvard, Timothy Leary. And then he started his own bandwagon and he led many people into LSD, all the hippies. Do you think taking LSD can produce ecstasy and higher consciousness? He once asked the storefront audience. Then, just imagine a room full of LSD. Krishna consciousness is like that, Srila Prabhupada explained. So, how to explain Krishna consciousness to such people? So, explain them by something they can relate to. So, they could relate with LSD, or we take little LSD, it creates such amazing intoxication and consciousness. So Prabhupada told, you know LSD? So just imagine a room full of LSD. Oh my God, what would that kind of pleasure be? That is Krishna consciousness. People would regularly come in and ask Swamiji's disciples, do you get high from this? And the devotees would answer, oh yes, you can get high just by chanting. Why don't you try it? One night, a group of about 10 hippies from Millbrook came to Swamiji's Kirtan. So this Timothy Leary was running this drug society in Millbrook. So this LSD commune members, 10 of them, they visited. And they all chanted, not so much in worship of Krishna, they just wanted to experience whether this chanting will give us some kind of kick and high. And after the lecture, a Millbrook leader asked about drugs. Prabhupada replied that drugs were not necessary for spiritual life, that they could not produce spiritual consciousness, and that all drug-induced religious visions were simply hallucinations. Prabhupada was clear. To realize God was not so easy or cheap that one could do it just by taking a pill or smoking. Chanting Hare Krishna, he explained, was a purifying process to uncover one's pure consciousness. Taking drugs would increase the covering and bar one from self-realization. So Prabhupada told, taking drugs will not help you in any way, rather that will stop you from self-realization. But have you ever taken LSD? The question now became a challenge. No, Swamiji replied, I have never taken any of these things, not even cigarettes or tea. If you haven't taken it, then how can you say what it is? The Millbrookers looked around smiling. 2 or 3 even burst out with laughter. And they snapped their fingers, thinking that Swami had been checkmated. Sometimes, many times, when we have sessions, some people, when especially they come with friends or otherwise also, they want to prove that I am smart enough and they want to checkmate the speaker. So he asked this very important question, which we may come across when we are trying to educate others, that you do not have experience, how you are telling that this is not good enough, or how you can comment anything about it. So they thought that they have checkmated Swamiji. I have not taken, Swamiji replied regally from his dais. But my disciples have taken all these things, marijuana, LSD many times, and they have given them all up. You can hear from them. Haigriva, you can speak. And Haigriva sat up a little and spoke out in his stentorian best. He spoke, well, no matter how high you go on LSD, you eventually reach a peak and then you have to come back down. Just like traveling into outer space in a rocket ship. This was one of Prabhupada's pet example. That a rocket ship goes high into space, but unless it has got a shelter, it has to return to this planet Earth. Your spacecraft can travel very, very far away from the Earth for thousands of miles day after day, but it cannot simply go on traveling and traveling. Eventually, it must land. On LSD, we experience going up, but we always have to come down again. That's not spiritual consciousness. When you actually attain spiritual or Krishna consciousness, you stay high. Because you go to Krishna, you don't have to come down, you can stay high forever. So actually it is a fact that Krishna consciousness is not just something which can give a person relief from so much of mental troubles. There is some peace and some kind of relief, some rejuvenation, some entertainment, some good prasadam feast to eat. No, Krishna consciousness gives a person high. It gives great ecstasy, and the example is there. And Srila Prabhupada quoted many times how Lord Chaitanya, when he first visited Jagannath temple, and when he saw Jagannath, he got so much of pleasure that he fainted. So it's a real high that devotees experience. Of course, it will take rigorous practice, but then nevertheless, this platform has to be attained and can be attained. So Hayagriva very nicely explained, because you go to Krishna, you don't have to come down, you can stay high forever. So this is the difference. And they could relate, yes, LSD means you have to come down, again you are back to square one. But Krishna consciousness means always you can be high. There is no need to come down on lower platform. The conversation inspired Hayagriva and Umapati to produce a new handbill. And the bold heading was, stay high forever, no more coming down. Practice Krishna consciousness, expand your consciousness by practicing the transcendental sound vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is how devotees would propagate Krishna consciousness. Stay high forever, no more coming down, by practicing this sound vibration. It's a bright afternoon of October 1966. And this is Tompkins Square Park, the park on the Lower East Side. On south, it was bordered by the 7th Street with its 4 and 5-storied brownstone tenements. So this park was big park, around 10 acres, half of it was paved. And there were old tenement buildings on two sides, one side old buildings, another side newer buildings with a church, with library. And on one side were many shops, small shops, sending cigarettes, newspaper, magazine, egg creams and all such things. The park's 10 acres held many tall trees, but at least half of the park was paved. A network of 5-foot-high heavy wrought iron fences weaved through the park, lining the walkways and protecting the grass. Since the weather was still warm and it was Sunday, the park was crowded with people. Almost all the people on the benches that lined the walkways were occupied. There were old people, mostly Ukrainians, dressed in outdated suits and sweaters, even in the warm weather, sitting together in clans talking. There were many children in the park also, many immigrants, basically immigrant children. And then some people were playing basketball, baseball, the teenagers. Some people were playing on their drums, and some other were hippies. Many artists were there, musicians were there with their musical instruments, And the hippies, many of them were enjoying their intoxication, looking high above in the sky, the leaves of the trees. In this way, all kind of people were present, and for it was very, very crowded on that Sunday. And the hippies were there different from the others. The bearded bohemian men and their long-haired young girlfriends dressed in old blue jeans were still an unusual sight. So the hippies were just growing in number. New York was the first place, and then they appeared in other places also. This was the beginning. They were not even known as hippies at that time. So these were very strange people. So people were clean shaved and nice trim cut was there of the hairs. But these people are having long beards and long hairs. It was unusual. At that time, they were having a very gentlemanly get-up. So they were surprised to see these people also. They were from middle-class families, and so they had not been driven to the slums by dire economic necessity, as we discussed, but out of a desire to experience different consciousness in life. There were various groups among the young and hip at Tompkins Square Park. There were friends who had gone to the same school together, who took the same drug together, who agreed on a particular philosophy of art, literature, politics, or metaphysics. There were lovers, there were groups hanging out together for reasons undecipherable. Hippies specially took to the park on Sundays. They at least passed through the park on their way to St. Mark's Place, Greenwich Village, or the Lexington Avenue subway at Astor Place. But whatever the hippies' diverse interests and drives, the Lower East Side was an essential part of the mystique. It was not just a dirty slum, it was the best place in the world to conduct the experiment in consciousness. Into this chaotic pageant, Swamiji entered with his followers and sat down to hold a kirtana. 3 or 4 devotees who arrived ahead of him selected an open area of the park, put out the oriental carpet, sat down on it and began playing kartals and chanting Hare Krishna. 3-4 of them. Immediately, some boys rode up on their bicycles, braked just short of the carpet and stood astride their bikes, curiously and irreverently staring. Other passers-by gathered to listen, so they had never heard Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And they have not seen the devotees. And these people are sitting there and they are singing out loud something, so they were surprised. Meanwhile, Swamiji, accompanied by half a dozen disciples, was walking the 8 blocks from the storefront. Brahmananda carried the harmonium and the Swami's drum. Kirtanananda, who was now shaven-headed at Swami's request, he was the only person in traditional devotee get-up. Kirtanananda, who was now shaven-headed at Swami's request and dressed in loose-flowing canary yellow robes, created an extra sensation. Drivers pulled their cars over to have a look, their passengers leaning forward, agape at the outrageous dress and shaven head. So this was very unique. A person is having shaven head and he is wearing bed sheet and walking out in the park. So Hare Krishnas were known as people who wear bed sheets. You imagine if somebody is wearing bed sheet and coming out in the open with shaven head and he is singing out something. So it is out of the world experience. Maybe some alien has come. He is singing something in a language we don't understand. So maybe they thought he is just another madman. But then there was one difference. This Swami is not like them. Others are maybe hippies, but he is very grave personality, very aristocratic, had a great calm on his face. So this is something different. So they were all taken aback. As the group passed the store, people inside would poke each other and indicate the spectacle. People came to the windows of the tenements, taking in the Swami and his group as if a parade were passing. The Puerto Rican tough guys especially couldn't restrain themselves from exaggerated reactions. "Hey, Buddha!" they taunted. "Hey, you forgot to change your pajamas!" They made shrill screams as if imitating Indian war whoops they had heard in Hollywood westerns. "Hey, Arabs!" exclaimed one heckler, who began imitating what he thought was an Eastern dance. No one on the street knew anything about Krishna consciousness, nor even of Hindu culture and customs. To them, the Swami's entourage was just a bunch of crazy hippies showing off. But they didn't know what to make of the Swami. He was different. Nevertheless, they were suspicious. Some, however, like Irving Halpern, The veteran Lower East Side resident felt sympathetic toward this stranger, who was apparently a very dignified person on a peaceful mission. So, some were sympathetic also. Irving recollects, a lot of people had spectacularized notions of what a Swami was, as though they were going to suddenly see people lying on little mattresses made out of nails and all kinds of other absurd notions. Yet here came just a very graceful, peaceful, gentle, obviously well meaning being into a lot of hostility. Hippies, what are they, communists? While the young taunted, the middle aged and elderly shook their heads or stared, cold and uncomprehending. The way to the park was spotted with blasphemies, ribald jokes, and tension, but no violence, fortunately. Eventually, Srila Prabhupada had to face violence also. He met some students in one university, and these students were having such a different opinion about America and about preaching, about being authoritarian, that they eventually pelted the van of the devotees with stones. And they threw black paint and so many other things. But here at least violence was not there, although they were passing all kinds of not very gentle remarks. So it was quite an adventure before the group even reached the park. Swamiji, however, remained unaffected. What are they saying? He asked once or twice, and Brahmananda explained. Swamiji had a way of holding his head high, his chin up as he walked forward. It made him look aristocratic and determined. His vision was spiritual. He saw everyone as spiritual soul and Krishna as the controller of everything. Yet aside from that, even from a worldly point of view, he was unafraid of the city's pandemonium. After all, he was an experienced Calcutta man. So we will see, if time permits, how Srila Prabhupada, when he came to Calcutta, and in Calcutta, Naxal movement was there. And these people were very much against this preaching. And Prabhupada receives a letter. And the letter stated, leave or die. And Prabhupada was supposed to have a big Pandal program, but Prabhupada told, we will go ahead with it. And then Prabhupada was there sitting to start the Pandal program. And all these people, they came there and they picked up the chairs which were supposed to be meant, folding chairs they had kept for some of the people, special guests and respectable invitees to sit over there. Some government officials they were expecting. So they picked up the chairs and they started banging the chairs, all of them. Just imagine, many people, and they are banging the chairs, and anything could have happened. So Prabhupada was completely undisturbed. And when he saw the ruckus, what was happening, Prabhupada, depending on Krishna, especially Krishna's incarnation as holy name, immediately started chanting Brahma Samhita prayers, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And such was the mystical effect of Srila Prabhupada's chanting that they all got silenced, they left the chairs and they left the pandal. And nobody could understand what has happened. So Prabhupada could and some other devotees could, how Krishna, sitting in the heart of every living entity, he is dictating all the actions from within. So this was Prabhupada's faith in the holy name, completely unaffected even in such situations like leave or die. So this was very easy for anybody to tackle, and Prabhupada was unaffected. The kirtan had been going on for about 10 minutes, those initial 3-4 disciples who went, when Swamiji arrived, stepping out of his white rubber slippers, just as if he were home in the temple. He sat down on the rug with his followers, who had now stopped their singing and were watching him. He wore a pink sweater and around his shoulders a khadi wrapper. He smiled. Looking at his group, he indicated the rhythm by counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then he began clapping his hands heavily. As he continued counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the kartals followed, at first with wrong beats, but he kept the rhythm by clapping his hands 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then they got it, clapping hands, clashing cymbals artlessly to a slow but steady beat. He began singing prayers that no one else knew. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. His voice was sweet like the harmonium, rich in the nuances of Bengali melody. Sitting on the rug under a large oak tree, he sang the mysterious Sanskrit prayers. None of his followers knew any mantra but Hare Krishna. But they knew Swamiji and they kept the rhythm, listening closely to him while the trucks rumbled on the street and the conga drums pulsed in the distance. As he sang, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, the dogs came by. Kids stared, a few mockers pointed fingers. Hey, who is that priest man? But his voice was a shelter beyond the clashing dualities. His voice went on ringing cymbals while he sang alone. Sri Radha Krishna Padan. Swamiji sang prayers in praise of the pure conjugal love for Krishna of Srimati Radharani, the beloved of the gopis. Each word passed down for hundreds of years by the intimate associates of Krishna was saturated with deep transcendental meaning that only he understood. Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha. They waited for him to begin Hare Krishna, although hearing him chant was exciting enough. So these are the Mangalacharan prayers. If you read Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has written down all the prayers, the invocation prayers. So this is the way. These are very mystical, very important prayers. It defines how a person is supposed to approach Krishna and his associates. So many times people tell, what is the need of a middleman, as some Bollywood flicks also have indicated. We can approach God directly. Why these middlemen, they want to have their commission and want to have name, fame and money for them? We will approach directly. All this guruship is cheating. But it is mentioned in the age-old parampara system in all these shlokas how Krishna has to be approached. Vandeham Shri Guru. First of all, Vandeham means I offer my respects, obeisances to Shri Guruho, to the spiritual master. And this word Acharya Upasanam is one of the elements of knowledge which Lord Krishna mentions in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So worshipping Acharya Upasanam is a bona fide and it's very important element of knowledge. As long as a person does not learn to worship the Acharya, then it means he does not have knowledge. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. So first of all, you surrender yourself to Guru, to spiritual master. Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Meditate and not just on the face of the spiritual master. So one Srila Prabhupada's disciples who had some artistic skills, Prabhupada told them, you make paintings of Guru Parampara. Through Gurus we have to approach Krishna. So he made images, but those were the bust images. Prabhupada told, what is this bust image? Don't you know the prayers? Vandeham Shri Guru. We have to offer respects to the lotus feet of spiritual master. Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam. Every day we are singing. So it is at the lotus feet that we have to meditate. This is the etiquette. So first of all, a disciple, a prospective spiritualist is supposed to find a bona fide spiritual master and meditate upon his lotus feet. Take shelter of his lotus feet. Means completely follow, abide by all the instructions which are given. That means taking shelter of lotus feet. And physically also offering obeisances. And then Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. Then the Guru Parampara. Spiritual master, he has to be offered respect. Grand spiritual master, he has to be offered respect. Great grand spiritual master, he has to be offered respect. Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. And then all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. That is why it is a part of our morning program, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha. We offer respects to all the Vaishnava devotees. As soon as we enter the temple, so we take the dust. Sometimes devotees fall on the floor and they offer respects. Sometimes we simply touch the steps and put the dust on our head. So what is the purpose? The purpose is so many devotees are passing and dust from their feet is deposited on the temple steps. So we take the dust of the feet of the devotees on the head. Thus in Maharashtra, if some of you know, there is Vittalji's temple, very famous temple. And there one devotee desired to have his samadhi on the footsteps of the temple so that devotees can step over him and he would get purified by the dust of their feet. So this is the understanding of devotees. The dust of the lotus feet of devotees is so very much purifying. And Krishna becomes very happy when he sees, oh, my devotee, they are respecting so much. So indirectly, we are honoring Krishna. Why do we respect devotee? Because devotee is servant of Krishna. So Krishna sees, oh, he respecting my servant so much. So that means he is actually respecting them because of me. It is my respect. So it is very, very important. First, we have to learn Guru, and then Guru Parampara, and then Vaishnavas. Whenever we enter temple, thus first respect we offer to the Vaishnavas. We take the dust and we enter if it is possible. Temple is not very crowded. We bow down, offer obeisances to all the Vaishnavas who are present in the temple. Then we go offer respects to the Guru, and then we offer respects to the deity. In this way, Krishna should be approached, not directly, but through his servants. And then after you have offered respects to Guru Parampara, to all the Vaishnavas, and then especially the 6 Goswamis, Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam, Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam, Rup Goswami, the chief of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So this Srila Prabhupada is offering respects to our Guru Parampara. Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam, his elder brother, and followed by Raghunath Das Goswami and other Goswamis. Tam Sajivam, Jeev Goswami. So we offer respect to 6 Goswamis who are immediate disciples of Lord Chaitanya. And then we offer respects to Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Then you have to offer respects to Advaitacharya, Nityanand Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Thakur, associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then you offer respects to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And after offering respects to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are now we can approach Radha and Krishna. Shri Radha Krishna Pada, and first of all we approach Radha Rani, Shri Radha and then Krishna. So if we directly go to please Krishna, it is difficult. Krishna has no dearth of servants. But the servants are very, very merciful because they want to engage others also in service of Krishna. So that is why we chant Hare Krishna rather than simply Jai Shri Krishna and all. I mean, of course, we can always chant the names of Krishna, but Hare Krishna is always better because not directly Krishna, first you have taken shelter of the energy of Krishna. So Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, not Narayan Lakshmi. So because Lakshmi, energy of Krishna, and then Narayan, you take shelter. So this is the way in which Krishna should be approached. And then after that, Lalita, Vishakhan, Vitansha, other gopis of Vrindavan, they can be meditated upon and one can engage in their service. And this is the way we offer worship, various paraphernalia when we do deity worship in the temple. So Srila Prabhupada chanted these prayers, indicating the great significance of Guru Parampara. This is the way of approaching Krishna. Then he began the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But he was not chanting, he was singing. As you would have seen in the video, Tompkins Square Park. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. In typical melody, Swamiji was singing Hare Krishna mantra. They responded too low and muddled at first, but he returned it to them again, singing it right and triumphant. Again they responded, gaining heart, ringing kartals and clapping hands. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again he sang it alone, and they stayed hanging closely on each word, clapping, beating cymbals, and watching him looking back at them from his inner concentration. His old age wisdom is bhakti, and out of love for Swamiji, they broke loose from their surroundings and joined him as a chanting congregation. Swamiji played a small drum, holding its strap in left hand, bracing the drum against his body, and with his right hand playing intricate mridanga rhythms. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He was going strong after half an hour, repeating the mantra, carrying them with him as interested onlookers gathered in greater numbers. Half an hour Prabhupada kept on chanting. A few hippies sat down on the edge of the rug, copying the cross-legged sitting posture, listening, clapping, trying the chanting, and the small inner circle of Prabhupada and his followers grew as gradually more people joined. As always, his kirtan attracted musicians. Lone musicians were almost always loitering in different parts of the park, And when they heard they could play with the Swamis chanting and that they were welcome, then they began to come by one. A saxophone player came just because there was such a strong rhythm section to play with. Others, like Irving Halpern, the sympathizer, saw it as something spiritual with good vibrations. As the musicians joined, more passers-by were drawn into the kirtan. Swamiji had been singing both lead and chorus, and many who had joined now sang the lead part also, so that there was a constant chorus of chanting. During the afternoon, the crowd grew to more than 100. With a dozen musicians trying with their conga, mid-bongo drums, bamboo flutes, metal flutes, mouth organs, wood and metal clackers, tambourines and guitars to stay with the Swami. He was striking to see. His brow was furrowed in the effort of singing loud, and his visage was strong. The veins in his temples stood out visibly, and his jaw jutted forward as he sang his Hare Krishna for all to hear. Although his demeanor was pleasant, his chanting was intensive, sometimes straining, and everything about him was concentration. It wasn't someone else's yoga retreat or silent peace vigil, but a pure chanting be-in of Bhaktivedanta Swami's own doing. It was a new wave, something everyone would take part in. The community seemed to be accepting it. It became so popular that the ice cream vendor came over to make sales. Beside Prabhupada, the group of young, blonde-haired boys, 5 or 6 years old, were just sitting around. So young people, old people, hippies, ice cream vendors, everybody got attracted. A young Polish boy stood staring. Someone began burning frankincense on a glowing coal in a metal strainer, and the sweet fumes billowed among the flutists, drummers, and chanters. Swamiji motioned to his disciples, and they got up and began dancing. Tall, thin Striadhisha, his back pocket stuffed with Stay High Forever flyers, raised his hands and began to dance. This video, I think you would have seen. Beside him, in black turtleneck, big chanting beads around his neck, danced Achyutananda, his curly, almost frizzly hair long and disarrayed. Then Brahmananda got up. He and Achyutananda stood facing each other. The devotee is little healthy, he is Brahmanand Prabhu. Arms outstretched as in the picture of Lord Chaitanya's Kirtan. Photographers in the crowd moved forward. The boys danced, shifting their weight from left foot to right foot, striking a series of angelic poses, their large red chanting beads around their necks. They were doing the Swami step. So the simple step that we do, shifting right foot to right, left foot to right, and then vice versa. Brahmananda. Once I got up, I thought I would have to remain standing for as long as Swamiji played the drum. It will be an offense, I thought, if I sit down while he's still playing, so I danced for an hour. Swamiji gave the gesture of acceptance by a typically Indian movement of his head, and then raised his arms, inviting more dancers. More of his disciples began dancing, and even a few hippies got up and tried it. Swamiji wanted everyone to sing and dance in Sankirtan. The dance was a sedate swaying and stepping of bare feet on the rug. And the dancers' arms were raised high, their fingers extended toward the sky above the branches of the autumn trees. Here and there throughout the crowd, chanters were enjoying private ecstasies. A girl with her eyes closed played finger cymbals and shook her head dreamily as she chanted. A Polish lady with very old, worn face and a babushka, kind of scarf around her head, stared incredulously at the girl. What is she doing? So Hare Krishna Mahamantra actually, if chanted offenselessly, takes even a new person into ecstasy. So some of them were in ecstasy and others were not understanding what these are experiencing. Little groups of old women in kerchiefs, some of them wearing sunglasses, stood here and there among the crowd, talking animatedly and pointing out the interesting sights in the kirtan. Kirtanananda was the only one in a dhoti, looking like a young version of Prabhupada. The autumn afternoon sunlight fell softly on the group, spotlighting them in a golden glow with long, cool shadows. The harmonium played a constant drone, and a boy wearing a military fatigue jacket improvised atonal creations on a wooden recorder. Yet the total sound of the instruments blended, and Swamiji's voice emerged above the mulling tones of each chord. And so it went for hours. Can you imagine? Old Swami Srila Prabhupada, he's singing, and for hours this kirtan went on continuously. Prabhupada held his head and shoulders erect, although at the end of each line of the mantra he would sometimes shrug his shoulders before he started the next line. His disciples stayed close to him, sitting on the same rug, religious ecstasy visible in their eyes. Finally he stopped. Immediately he stood up, and they knew he was going to speak. It was 4 o'clock, and the warm autumn sun was still shining on the park. The atmosphere was peaceful and the audience attentive and mellow from the concentration on the mantra. He began to speak to them, thanking everyone for joining in the kirtan. The chanting of the Hare Krishna, he said, had been introduced 500 years ago in the West Bengal by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare means, O energy of Lord. Krishna is Lord and Rama is also the Supreme Lord, meaning the highest pleasure. His disciples sat his feet, listening. Raya Ram squinted through his shielding hand into the sun to see Swamiji, and Kirtananda's head was cocked to one side like a bird who is listening to the ground. Swamiji explained that there are three platforms: sensual, mental, and intellectual. And above them is the spiritual platform. So we only know how to satisfy the senses, sensual platform, how to satisfy the mind and intellect. But nobody knows how to satisfy spirit. The chanting of Hare Krishna is on the spiritual platform, and it is the best process for reviving our eternal, blissful consciousness. He invited everyone to attend the meetings at 26 2nd Avenue and concluded his brief speech by saying, "Thank you very much. Please chant with us." Then he sat down, took the drum, and began the kirtan again. So it was very risky for Prabhupada, a person who has got 2 heart attacks, and he is very old, and it has been hours that he has been singing lead as well as the chorus, and even after hours, after just a brief speech, he continues singing again. So even though it means a lot of risk, Prabhupada wants to take it, because it has been first time in the history, never it was that Hare Krishna was heard, bhakti was ever felt or experienced by anybody. So Lord Chaitanya's mercy was overflowing, and Prabhupada did not want to stop it. So he took all the risk and continued chanting. He knew this was the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his own spiritual master. Even though caste-conscious Brahmanas in India would disapprove, even now the people criticize, these are mlechas, Westerners having bad habits. Why you have made them Brahmanas and you have told them to come and do deity worship? But Prabhupada was understanding the instruction of Vedas, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that everybody is qualified. Yes, in regular Vedic process, you need to have certain births, certain rituals, but Hare Krishna Mahamantra is transcendental. Anybody who can take shelter of a pure devotee and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they can surpass all the defects of birth or the bad habits they have picked up by bad association. Everybody is qualified. When Swamiji returned to the storefront, he found a crowd of people from the park standing on the sidewalk outside his door. Young people waiting for him to arrive and unlock the door to matchless gifts, waiting to learn more about the dance and the chant. And the elderly Swami and his disciples, who had created such a beautiful scene in the park, they filled the storefront. Outside on the sidewalk, the timid or uncommitted loitered near the door or window, smoking, waiting. They just wanted to crane and understand what's going on. Swamiji entered and walked directly into the dais and sat down before the largest gathering that had ever graced his temple. So just half a dozen or dozen people would come to the temple, but now after this Tompkins Square Park Sankirtan, many people were eagerly waiting outside the locked door, waiting for Swami to come and explore, and the entire hall was packed completely. He spoke further of Krishna consciousness, the words coming as naturally as breathing as he quoted the Sanskrit authority behind what they had all been experiencing in the park. Just as they had all chanted today, he said, so everyone should chant always. It was late when he finally returned to his apartment. One of the boys brought him a cup of hot milk, and someone remarked they should do the chanting in the park every week. Every day, Swamiji replied. Even while half a dozen people were present, he lay down on his thin mat. He continued to speak for some minutes, and then his voice trailed off, preaching in fragmented sentences. He appeared to doze. It was 10 o'clock. They tiptoed out, softly shutting the door. Hare Krishna was becoming popular. Regular kirtans in the parks, newspaper coverage. Hayagriva called it the Hare Krishna explosion. Now everybody was covering Hare Krishna after that time. The Lower East Side hippies considered the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the grooviest, is the word for something very fantastic, grooviest things happening, and that the Swami's disciples didn't take LSD didn't seem to affect their popularity. The devotees were accepted as angelic people, carrying the peaceful chanting to others and offering free food and a free place to stay. You could get the most interesting vegetarian food free at their place. Of course, if you went at the right time, because it would get over. And in their storefront on the shelf by the door were books from India. So it was a very unique experience. First time, the most important religious practice. So it is told there are various faults in this age of Kali Yuga. People cannot follow the regular procedures. Actually, if a person has to advance in spiritual life as per the Vedas, even before the birth, proper ceremony, rituals have to happen. That is called Garbhadhan Sanskar. Purification must happen before birth itself. Right soul should come out, and then there are so many processes for purifying the heart, eliminating rajas and tamas, lust and greed from the heart. That is why there is a system of marriage. People wonder why there is marriage. Because if there is no marriage, then there is no restriction. People would keep on mixing unlimitedly with anybody and everybody, and this lust will keep on burning and burn down their material and spiritual life. So marriage, take responsibility and limit this tendency of unlimited enjoyment. So this is also purification. In this way, person is able to contain the lust. And so many procedures a person has to follow. And in this way, after many, many births, he understands spiritual knowledge. However, we are not practiced, we are not trained. None of the families do know how to follow all these sanskaras. So everything is lost of the Vedic culture. But still there is one great gain. Even though nobody knows the rituals, neither they are qualified priests to perform the rituals, still all these things can be more than compensated simply by chanting and hearing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everything is there in chanting, so this process should be taken very, very seriously. So Srila Prabhupada told nothing was there. And now we'll see another nice feature being introduced into Krishna consciousness, and that is of prasadam. How devotees enjoyed and they advanced in their consciousness, and everybody, so many people, they got pulled to it. But nevertheless, initially nothing was there, Prabhupada told. Simply holy name was there. This entire movement got established based on the holy name, and it is the most important thing in our practice also. So I request all of you, if you are living in family, please keep on chanting. It is very simple, as much as possible throughout the day. All the family members can keep on reminding each other, please chant Hare Krishna. Or you start chanting, seeing you, your family members will automatically start chanting. Or if you are living in some college hostel, of course now because of COVID it would be closed, it will open anyway sometime, in some time. So you can remind your friends, have a circle, always keep on reminding, keep on chanting. So please chant as much as possible throughout the day. There is no loss, but gain is great. And for some time with great, complete attention, concentration, if possible in early morning hours after taking bath, please chant with great attention. So this was the wonderful pastime of first Sankirtan in the West. And even now it is a heritage site. If you go to New York, Tompkins Square Park, there is a Hare Krishna tree. The tree under which Prabhupada spoke and he chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as you would have seen in the video as well. So tomorrow we will understand further features of Krishna consciousness, how this another element of prasadam was introduced by Srila Prabhupada, how Prabhupada was very, very uncompromising, the society which is fond of drugs and sex, how Prabhupada educated them out of it, how Prabhupada was, although he is preaching Krishna consciousness in New York, and some of his followers were telling it's too difficult to convince others, it will remain limited here, but Krishna consciousness had an explosion and went from East Coast to West Coast. That is what we'll understand tomorrow. So thank you so much for hearing. Now we have announcement of yesterday's winner. Yesterday's winner, we do not know the full name, is Mr. or Miss RK. He has written about 7 valuable points. So that is very nice. Thank you so much for writing. And also says that he will give initiation a serious thought as it is very important. Thank you very much for appreciating this important fact. Yes, that is indeed very important. Another appreciation, Aniket Kothari and Abhijit Singha have also written very nice realization, and they are regular in writing realization. So thank you so much, Aniket and Abhijit. You have been writing your realizations regularly, and please keep on writing. So we will have special gift for both of you also. Does not matter you count or you don't count among the daily winners. So Krishna sees the consistency. So Aniket Kothari, Abhijit Singha, please note down. We'll send it to them also. So please keep on writing. As I request always, please don't hesitate in writing. Keep on writing. If you write in comments, it will help the people who see the videos in future. It will help in sharing, reaching out to more people. So please like the video, comment, and please try to share it with others. Thank you so much for hearing again. We'll meet tomorrow. Hare Krishna.